Okay, the video stream is live now.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask Linda to do a roll call.
We're not hearing the folks in Monroe AB there. Okay.
I'm going to do a roll call attendance at the end of class.
Here.
Elite, Gina Lamar,
Here.
Now Lyman Torres,
Here.
Carla Palumbo,
Here.
Grace Tillinghast, Connie Walker,
Here.
and Williams.
Here. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the August meeting of the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College. Meeting has been called to order and a quorum has been established. I'd like to start off first by welcoming our student trustee, Mia Lee, to her first official meeting of the Board of Trustees. We'll have a report and we're on as part of the agenda itself. I would now like to ask Bonadio to present their report.
Good afternoon. I am, went a little bit too far. Can we go a couple slides back, please? One more. You can leave it right there. Oh, all right. Thank you very much. So I am Jonathan Miller, partner with the Bonadio Group. Today I'm joined by Andy Kelly, manager with the Bonadio Group, as well as Randy Shepard, a partner with the Bonadio Group. Will be your core engagement team this year. And today, the purpose of us meeting with you today is to provide this group with our audit plan. We've identified the scope of services, the impact on the risk that we've identified will have on our audit, as well as some industry best practices. And it also provides an opportunity for this group to have dialogue back with us on what their risks and concerns are related to the audit. If we flip to the next slide. And right there, you can see the engagement scope, which is consistent with the previous year. We will be opining on the fairness of the financial statements. We will be performing a single audit in accordance with the uniform guidance. That is an audit of the federal funds, sometimes referred to as a single audit. It is a compliance-based audit. We will prepare a letter on internal controls and other observations, if applicable. That is also referred to as sometimes commonly known as the management letter. And lastly, provide advice on financial reporting, business, and tax issues. We go to the next slide and we can see the timeline for the engagement. We were out here in June performing preliminary audit procedures. Then obviously we're here today to present the audit plan with this group. Starting the day after Thanksgiving, we will be back down in the controller's office performing our final audit fieldwork and be back to this group to present the results of our audit in February 2023. The next slide presents the risks related to the audit. I'm sure you are all very well aware of the risk of declining enrollment. All public institutions, but most notably two-year public institutions, are facing declining enrollment. So you are not alone. However, I've talked with this group before. When 75% of your revenue is variable or enrollment driven, but about 90% of your costs are essentially fixed. They can't be adjusted very quickly. That is creating financial pressures. That increases the risk related to revenue recognition on our audit. So we will be performing controls and control testing and walkthroughs over the revenue cycle, identifying what the key controls are. Also, part of the sustainable audit testing, we will be performing analytics, trying to gain an understanding of how many students were here, what you budgeted for, what we're seeing in other colleges, community colleges we audit. I do think it's important to note that as the financial pressures on enrollment, the college is sensitive to that those costs cannot be passed on to the students or their families. MCC has historically had one of the lower tuitions in all community colleges for SUNY. I believe this year, looking at some of the reports, they will have the third lowest tuition rate for their students. The next item we see is a higher risk. Higher Education Emergency Relief Funds, the HERF. The college received $71 million over the past 3 years of HERF money, $40 million from institutional, $31 million for students. This came in 3 tranches. Each tranche has unique compliance considerations. Sometimes those compliance considerations were actually being established or refined as you were going along, trying to establish, trying to distribute the money or utilize the money. Part of our audit procedures are to see if you comply with those terms and conditions for the federal guidance. Then lastly, increased risk related to cybersecurity. This sentence really does not do justice to this. All colleges and universities, by your very nature, have this cybersecurity as high risk. That's because of your students, employees, and the type of information you have. You have their financial, you have their intellectual. You also, in some cases, have their health information. The bad guys, the hackers, they see this as very valuable. We've seen increased risk, obviously, through the pandemic, more use of information technology, such as this meeting being done over Zoom, but also geopolitical events have also increased hacking. What we've experienced with MCC in the past is they've been very forward and proactive in addressing the risk. With this group's guidance, but also implemented by Eileen in her group, they've had sound policies, been proactive in thinking. So as part of our audit, we'll be performing inquiry and review of documents to ensure that's still the case. It is important to note that our procedures as part of the financial statement audit is not an audit of your IT procedures. It's also not any testing of your IT procedures. It's just inquiry. With that, I'll hand it over to Andy to walk you through the next pieces.
And good afternoon, everyone. As John mentioned, my name is Andy Kelly. I'm the manager on your audit engagement team. So jumping right into the fraud slide. So when we talk about fraud in the context of a financial statement audit, we're referring to both the theft of assets as well as intentional misstatements in your financial reporting. So the key word being intentional. So as the auditors, our responsibility is to gain an understanding of where your financial statements are have material fraud risk. So we develop our procedures we design our procedures to respond to those risks. So how do we do this? The audit approach here, we start with a brainstorming meeting amongst the team. Then we make inquiries of management and governance. We respond to any risks that we identify based on the information that we gather. And then we also evaluate the programs and controls that management has put in place at the college. And then we also look at some of your manual journal entries to see if there's anything that might be indicative of fraud there. And throughout the audit, our focus relative to fraud is on revenue recognition. It's a big thing that we look at when we're auditing revenue. And then we just remind you that management is responsible to design and implement internal controls to prevent, deter, and detect fraud. So I mentioned that we make inquiries of governance. So at this time, I just want to open it up to see if anyone has any concerns at this time related to fraud at the college. And if not, that's certainly fine. And you're welcome to reach out to us and talk in private if you do think of anything. So the next slide, current industry developments, you should have received a separate handout. And it speaks in detail to each of these bullets here. Since we have limited time today, we're not going to go through these in detail today, but if you do have any questions, we certainly welcome those in a couple of minutes when we have our Q&A portion of this presentation. And flip to the next slide. Current accounting pronouncements. So the GASB 87 lease standard is effective this year. You've been hearing about it for years. It's continued to get postponed, and now it's finally effective for the August 31st, 2022 audit. So there's a lot of detail to this standard. You could go to several 8-hour-a-day trainings to get all the details on it, but to try to sum it up as simply as possible, it essentially takes all of your leases and puts them on your balance sheet or your statement of net position. So there used to be this concept of capital leases versus operating leases. So operating leases are gone. All of your leases, with the exception of those that are 12 months or less, are now going to be on the statement of net position. So the heavy lift in implementing this standard is really in the initial evaluation process. So really, you're just trying to determine what contracts you have that are scoped into the standard versus out. And it's not necessarily intuitive. In many cases, we're seeing service contracts being scoped in. So an example of that is you might have a security contract where within that contract, you have an embedded lease to related to the security cameras. So going through all of your agreements, not just the ones that say lease in the title, is a critical first step in making this evaluation. So we're talking to management about what kind of leases they have out there. and we've offered to provide assistance to the extent that they're looking for that. And on the next slide, next two slides, we have our client service team. So as John already introduced himself, Randy's here in an advisory partner capacity. Myself as your engagement manager. Karen Hignett will continue to be your single audit principal. And on the next page, we have Amy Smith as your engagement senior. Kristen Clark is the quality control partner. Heather Legiro as your tax partner, and Charlie Wood as the IT executive vice president. So you have all of our contact information here, emails and phone numbers. You're certainly welcome to reach out to any of us at any time. So that concludes our prepared remarks, and then we'd open it up to any questions folks have.
I have one to start off with. And as you go through your audit, do you offer an opinion in terms of whether or not we are in compliance with HERF funds?
Yes, we do opine on the compliance with your HERF funds. So it will be a major program this year, and we will be testing that compliance and opining on it.
Heather?
All right, thank you very much, and look forward to seeing this group in February.
Thank you, Jonathan. We'll now move to adopt the consent agenda. Unless objections are raised, the following items are proposed to be adopted and approved by consent. Some of these items address issues that have been discussed by the board in the past and/or are routine operational issues that do not involve new policy decisions. Other consent items are derived from provisions in the existing prior approved contracts, instruction programs, or other trustee initiatives. Consent agenda is presented for adoption as a single agenda item. However, specific items may be removed by request of any board member for discussion as part of the regular agenda. The remaining items should then be adopted as a single agenda item. Board approval of consent agenda is required. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College adopt the consent agenda effective August 1st, 2022. Trustees, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Moved. Can I get a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Angela,
Aye.
Lee, Rena Lamar,
Aye.
Lyman Torres,
Aye.
Carla Palumbo,
Aye.
Grace Tillingham,
Aye.
Connie Walker,
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved. Thank you. I will now give the Finance and Facilities Committee report in the absence of Trustee Rakoff. The board will consider these resolutions as a committee of the whole, voting for each in turn. I'd now like to invite Vice President Hinton to give the financial report.
Good afternoon, trustees. Go ahead, next slide. Next. You see here we have a decrease of 673 FTEs, 9% per year. Student tuition decrease, primarily looking at that from 35.5 million last year, this year to 39.6, a decrease of 4.1 million. The total revenues 96.4, year decrease of 10.1. You see it, federal aid per 3 million partially offset the decrease, but additionally with that is it's also because we decreased the utilization of HER funds this year for 21-22. Total expenses looking at a decrease of 1.1 million, 1.3% year to date, and then the fund balance decrease of 9.7 million year. Again, that's primarily due to decreasing utilization of HERF this year. The next slide. Breakdown here, performance. And kind of looking at the FTE revenue again at 10.8. You'll see in the next coming slides where we decreased HERF 7.4 million. That's where the primarily decrease of revenue, but we actually overall decreasing the expenses as well, came out positive this year. Then the fund balance again at 9.7 is primarily due to the HERF funds, decreasing HERF from previous year. Next slide. Biggest thing here, and we'll see as we go through the slide, we're actually going to hit budget this year. So now we're roughly at 99%. So definitely kudos to definitely President, her leadership, as well as the team that's here and the workers that are here on the campus. So just great job with that. I think that I hadn't hit budget since I think 2009, I believe. So definitely a great accomplishment. Like I said, we're at 99%, but we're expected to hit budget for year-end projection. Next slide. Again, seeing a revenue that 4.1 million again, like I said, a decrease of decline enrollment, state aid, 0.8, and go to the next slide. Again, to see, we talked previously, that 10.8, that's primarily the federal appropriation, that's HERF. At 7.4, we decreased the utilization of HERF funds from previous year. Go to the next slide. So here you see, again, the reduction. The student aid, 10.4, you look at the yellow, again, that's the HERF. So the biggest difference is just we decreased the utilization of HERF this year. But overall, it's a good thing because less reliance of HERF as we move away from HERF. We'll go to the next slide. Overall decrease, as you see, coming out positive 1.1%. The contractual expenses of 1.1 is basically the increase in utilities. As we come back face to face, obviously we get increases in utility rates as well. That's where that 1 point, but overall we came out 1.1 million in a positive in terms of decreasing our expenses from previous year. We'll go next slide. Again, this kind of breaks down. Again, the increase in yellows that basically coming back face to face and increase your utility costs. Go next. This is pretty much flat. Previous year. Go next slide. And then again, this really just testimony to the president, to the team, basically a campus-wide effort. We're expected to hit budget this year. I think next slide. So again, we talked about moving away from HERF, and so the structural deficit looking at 2 million. So we basically closed that gap as we realized that we have to move away from HERF. Any questions?
With her funds, I know we're moving away from it, but then there is it's a time certain in terms of when they have to be. Okay.
It is, and so we're still utilizing HERF, but understanding that the HERF is not a gift that keeps on giving. So
Let's keep our fingers crossed.
It'll be nice, sir. Yes. Sir. But understanding that we have to be able to, we're right sizing the institution as we should. We're doing the vacancy control. We have our vacancy review meetings. We're making sure that we're doing the right thing. So as we realize that HERF is not a permanent fixture in terms of the budget, we've actually appropriately moved away from having dependency on it.
Any other questions, comments?
Question, you heard the folks from Bonadillo. Do you have any thoughts or concerns about our compliance?
No, not at all, sir. I mean, we have a very good process in terms of like Clarence Hunt does an outstanding job, the team, Mike Quinn and so forth. So we have a lot of internal controls in place. Obviously, as they should, they'll come in and they'll audit that, they'll look at that. But I think we have very, very, very good internal controls in terms of how we actually do the HERF funds. And then, like I said, moving away from that, but we have a good scrutiny in terms of how we utilize it. We don't utilize it as candy. We make sure that it's appropriate. We follow the regulations and so forth. And that we have a litany of procedures that we go through before utilizing. And you'll see that with Bondado's audits, sir.
President Hinton, I would just, add, and please feel free to clarify or elaborate into whatever extent you find helpful. But a lot of there was even procedures that were put in place for our employees to request for their program or areas the use of the HERF funds for institutional purposes. And the idea was to make sure that those investments were put in a place that continue to strengthen programs or continue to strengthen support operations. So there are long-standing benefits that we will receive from those one-time funds that we received. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to elaborate on or clarify any further.
You said well, Madam President. I think just a thing of trying to make sure that what we're doing is efficient and effective for the college. Having that process in terms of requesting the HERF funds from the individual employees and departments. So the president, she articulated that well.
And resolved that the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College accepts the interim financial reports as of May 31st and June 30th, 2022, which are outlined in attachment 1. Trustees may have a motion to approve the interim financial reports.
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Linda, do a roll call vote.
Aye.
Leah Lee. Rita Lamar.
Aye.
Simon Torres.
Aye.
Mute.
Carla Colombo.
Aye.
Chris Dillingham.
Aye.
Tony Walker.
Aye.
John White.
Aye. Resolved, the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College authorizes the purchase of items over $20,000 as listed for the months of May and June 2022. Trustees may have a motion to approve the purchases over $20,000 as detailed in attachment 2.
I'll move.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I just have one question. I'm looking for it and I can't find it. But when I looked at the stuff, on the purchases, I saw something that I thought was labeled as. It almost looked like we were buying machinery. It wasn't I don't think it was a $20,000, like $500. I just can't find it. I don't, no big deal. I'll ask you after the meeting. Just really more curious.
Who's the microphone?
Oh, parking ticket, I'm sorry. It's the pants. So I'll hold my question. I don't know what it is. Sorry, Chair.
Oh, well. I'll vote yes.
Okay. Bob.
Aye.
Leah Lee. Gina Lamar,
Aye.
Danielle Lyman Torres,
Aye.
Carla Colombo,
Aye.
Grace Tillinghast, Walker,
Aye.
Ellen Williams.
Aye. Trustees, please refer to the information items in attachments 3, 4, and 5. Greg, would you like to provide any additional information to the board regarding these items?
No additional information per any questions, oh, sir.
And if I ask my question now, because I did, it's in the grant, I guess it's tab 3. Grant purchases. Department is contract parking. Vendor is electronic data, and it says parking tickets. Those tickets that we like just under $5 grand. And you can answer later.
Yeah,
Okay. Figured that's what it was. But it's electronic data.
so I'll get that back to you, sir, but they have a we have a license recognition program. I believe it actually goes for that. And so we hadn't, obviously with the going back and forth with COVID, not back and forth, but with COVID being primarily away from campus, but the license, I believe that goes to the license recognition program. There's some software, some data and some things, and we actually pay fees towards that, sir.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? And this concludes the Finance and Facilities Committee report. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College conduct an executive session pursuant to Public Officers Law 105, subsection F, medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person. I think we've covered every possible scenario. Trustees, may I have a motion to go into executive session? Second, any discussion? All in favor?
Voss,
Aye.
Mia Lee, Gina Lamar,
Aye.
Danielle Lyman Torres,
Aye.
Colombo,
Aye.
Grace Tillinghast,
Aye.
Carla Walker,
Aye.
Ellen Williams.
Aye. I'll go into a executive session. Go into a separate room.
Over to the Empire Room.
Yep. So the folks who are there in Monroe AB, you'll be going over into the Empire Room, or at least the folks who are going into executive session who are there. And the folks who are joining us through Zoom, I will be putting you into the breakout room that will contain the Empire Room in it. So I'm going to open that right now. And you should be getting an invite to send you over there.
Sit down, buddy. Sit down. Sit down.
We are all set with the video stream is back up and running here. And I don't know if you guys are ready in Monroe AB yet, but just a reminder to turn your mic back on when you guys are ready.
Didn't come back yet.
Yes, Sabrina.
Oh, yeah. I think some people are still in the break room. Can you put them back in?
Yeah, all the other.
Yeah, Rich.
We're here.
All back.
They just need to turn the camera on.
It's not even
Oh.
showing phone.
Just need
They're all
to turn the
back?
camera on.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, there are nine,
Yeah,
was it
we-
nine
Uh-huh.
participants?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Name.
All right, good afternoon again. Trustee Carla Colombo will now give the Personnel and Programs Committee report. The board will consider these resolutions as a committee of the whole, voting on each in turn.
Thank you,
Colombo?
Chair. Thank you, Chair Williams. Everyone can hear me? Okay. Resolve that the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College approves the promotions of the following adjunct faculty effective September 1st, 2022. And I'll turn your attention to the screen so you could see the names. The first are from adjunct associate professor to adjunct professor. Next, from adjunct assistant professor to adjunct associate professor. Followed by from adjunct instructor to adjunct assistant professor. Give everybody just a minute. So trustees, may I have a motion to approve the adjunct promotions as noted? And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? I'll call a roll call vote. Trustees Dan DeLoss,
Aye.
Mia Lee, don't.
In here.
Sabrina Lamar,
Aye.
Danielle Lyman Torres,
Aye.
Carla Palumbo, I say aye. Grace Tillingast,
Aye.
Connie Walker, aye. Chair Alan Williams.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. Thank you. Next, resolved that the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College approves the following promotions in accordance with Article 52 of the contractual agreement between Monroe Community College and the Faculty Association effective September 1st, 2022. These are non-ranked promotions. Academic Services Division, Program Advisor to Senior Advisor, Elizabeth Frizzell, Liberty Partnerships Program at $44,977. Administrative Services Division, Director 2 to Director 1, Deborah Oliver, Payroll at $96,000. Specialist 2 to Specialist 1, Kyle Mason, Communications and Network Services, $69,000. Technical Assistant to Senior Technical Assistant, Christina Stewart, Student Accounts, $50,000. Idawas Division, Advisor to Senior Advisor, Julissa Gonzalez, Idawas at $44,977. Shamika Martinez, Idawas at $44,977. Coordinator 2 to Coordinator 1, Carly Rooney, Idawas VP Office at $64,500. Director 1, Director 2 to Director 1, James Girdner, Workforce Development in Corporate College, $92,768. Manager 2, lecturer to manager 1, lecturer, Nicole Amendelare, PSTF at $69,322. And technical assistant to senior technical assistant, Lori Ruiz, PSTF at $51,767. Trustees, may I have a motion to approve the non-ranked promotions as noted?
Second.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, then all in favor, I'll call the roll call vote. Trustees Dan DeLoss,
Aye.
Mia Lee, Sabrina Lamar.
Aye.
Oh, okay. Heard her. Danielle Lyman Torres.
Aye.
I say aye. Carla Palumbo, Grace Tillingast,
Aye.
Connie Walker,
Aye.
and Chair Alan Williams.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College expresses its sincere appreciation for professional services and in recognition of their years of dedicated service to the college, and the following be appointed at the pleasure of the Board of Trustees to emeritus status. Professor Emeritus Mary DeSano, Chemistry and Geosciences. Patricia Cervantes, Nursing. Janet Wattsdorp, Education and Human Services. Professor Emeritus posthumously, William Yanklowski, Engineering Technologies. Associate Professor Emeritus Karen Wells in Mathematics. Trustees, may I have a motion to approve those appointed to emeritus status?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, I'll call the roll call vote for trustees. Dan DeLoss,
Aye.
Mia Lee, Sabrina Lamar,
Aye.
Danielle Lyman Torres,
Aye.
Carla Palumbo, I say aye. Grace Tillingast,
Aye.
Connie Walker, Chair Alan Williams.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is approved. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College approves the following unpaid leave per Article 18 of the Faculty Association contract. Athesia Benjamin, 2022-2023 academic year, visual and performing arts. Trustees, may I have a motion to approve the unpaid leave for Athesia Benjamin?
Move.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? See none, all in favor, call a roll call vote. Trustees Dan DeLoss,
Aye.
Mia Lee, Sabrina Lamar,
Aye.
Danielle Lyman Torres,
Aye.
Carla Palumbo, I say aye. Grace Tillingast,
Aye.
Connie Walker,
Aye.
Chair Alan Williams.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College reappoints the following vice presidents effective September 1st, 2022 through August 31st, 2023. Robin Cole Jr., Vice President, Economic and Workforce Development and Career Technical Education. Calvin Gant, Vice President, Diversity, Equity, and Belonging, and Executive Director, Downtown Campus. Greg Hinton, Chief Financial Officer and Vice President, Administrative Services. Gretchen Wood, Vice President, Institutional Advancement, and Executive Director of the MCC Foundation. Trustees, may I have a motion to approve the Vice President reappointments?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
He looks so serious.
I'm sorry, was there a question?
No.
No? Okay. All in favor? I'll call the roll call. Trustees Dan DeLoss,
Aye.
Mia Lee, Sabrina Lamar,
Aye.
Danielle Lyman Torres,
Aye.
Carla Palumbo, I say aye. Grace Tillingast,
Aye.
Connie Walker,
Aye.
and Chair Alan Williams.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Okay, seeing none, the motion is approved. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College adopts the academic grade grievance policy effective August 1st, 2022 in attachment 6. Trustees, may I have a motion to approve the academic grade grievance policy as detailed in attachment 6?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Carl, I would only point out that this is a heck of a process. Really affords input on all the parties involved, and it seems quite fair to me.
Okay,
Kudos.
anything else? Great. So all in favor, I'll call roll call. Trustees Dan DeLoss,
Aye.
Mia Lee, Sabrina Lamar,
Aye.
Danielle Lyman Torres,
Aye.
Carla Palumbo, I say aye. Grace Tillingast,
Aye.
Connie Walker,
Aye.
Chair Alan Williams.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is approved. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College approves the 5-year contractual agreement with the Faculty Association beginning September 1st, 2022 and ending August 31st, 2027, and authorizes the chair of the board, the president, and the chief negotiator to sign the agreement. Trustees, may I have a motion to approve the Faculty Association contract?
So moved.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor. I'm sorry, did I hear something? No, okay. Seeing none, all in favor, we'll call a roll call vote. Trustees Dan DeLoss,
Aye.
Mia Lee, Sabrina Lamar,
Aye.
Danielle Lyman Torres,
Aye.
Carla Palumbo, I say aye. Grace Tillingast,
Aye.
Connie Walker,
Aye.
Chair Alan Williams.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is approved. Resolved that the Board of Trustees approves a 2.25% base increase and a $550 lump sum payment not added to base for fiscal year 2022 to 2023 for non-contract administrators. Trustees, may I have a motion to approve the increase for non-contract administrators?
So moved.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, I'll call the roll call. Trustees Dan DeLoss,
Aye.
Mia Lee, Sabrina Lamar,
Aye.
Danielle Lyman Torres,
Aye.
Carla Palumbo, I say aye. Grace Tillingast,
Aye.
Connie Walker,
Aye.
Chair Alan Williams.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Next, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves a 2.25% base increase and a $775 lump sum payment not added to base for fiscal year 2022, 2023 for the following college officers: Dr. Calvin Grant, VP Diversity, Equity and Belonging, and Executive Director, Downtown Campus; Dr. Kimberly McKenzie Mabry, Acting VP, Student Services and Acting Provost VP, Academic Services, and Gretchen Wood, VP, Institutional Advancement and Executive Director, MCC Foundation. Trustees, may I have a motion to approve the increase for the designated college officers?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, I will call the roll call. Trustees Dan DeLoss,
Aye.
trustee Mia Lee, Sabrina Lamar, Danielle Lyman Torres,
Aye.
Carla Palumbo, I say aye. Grace Tillingast,
Aye.
Connie Walker,
Aye.
Chair Alan Williams.
Aye.
Any opposed? See none, the motion carries. All right, bear with me 1 minute. Get to the right page. Okay. Resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the amendment to the employment agreement with President Deanna R. Bertnana to extend the contract term 1 additional year to August 31st, 2026. And be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the annual salary of the president effective September 1st, 2022 through August 31st, 2023, and the amount of $260,000. And be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes the Chair of the Board of Trustees to amend the employment agreement with President Bertnana upon such terms as the Board of Trustees and the President mutually agree. Trustees, may I have a motion to approve the resolution to extend the President's contract term 1 additional year, approve the President's annual salary, and authorize the Chair of the Board to amend the employment agreement with the President upon such terms as the Board of Trustees and the President mutually agree.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? See none, all in favor, I'll call the roll call. Trustee Dan DeLoss,
Aye.
Mia Lee, Sabrina Lamar,
Aye.
Danielle Lyman Torres,
Aye.
Carla Palumbo, I say aye. Grace Tillingast,
Aye.
Connie Walker,
Aye.
and Chair Alan Williams.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Does anyone have any questions to come before the Personnel and Programs Committee? See none, this concludes the Personnel and Programs report.
Thank you, trustee Palumbo.
Welcome.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College approves the 2023 meeting calendar. Have in front of you, or it's on the screen. A moment to take a look at it. Trustees, may I have a motion to approve the board calendar for 2023?
So moved.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. A roll call vote.
Dan DeLoss,
Aye.
Mia Lee, Sabrina Lamar,
Aye.
Danielle Lyman Torres,
Aye.
Carla Palumbo,
Aye.
Connie Walker,
Aye.
Aye. Passes. I will now ask the chair of the nominating committee, trustee Grace Tillinghast, to read the next resolution.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College duly elects the officers nominated to serve until the next annual meeting of the Board of Trustees and/or until their successors have been elected and qualified. Chair of the Board, Allen Williams. Vice Chair, Daniel DeLong. Secretary, Dr. Daniel Liman Torres. Before I ask for a motion, I would like to thank Alan and Dan and you for your willingness to serve the college. Trustees, may I have a motion to approve the board officer appointments?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Trustee DeLong,
Aye.
Ian Lee, Sabrina Lamar,
Aye.
Daniel Liman Torres,
Aye.
Carla Palomba,
Aye.
Grace Tillinghast, I say aye. Connie Walker
Aye.
and Chair Williams.
Aye.
Okay, so no opposed, the motion passes.
Thank you, Trustee Tillinghast. Resolved, the Board of Trustees of Monroe Community College approves the Vision 2027 Monroe Community College Strategic Plan 2022 to 2027, effective August 1st, 2022. Trustees, may I have a motion to approve the Vision 2027 strategic plan as detailed in attachment 7?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Linda, would you vote?
Aye.
Lamar,
Aye.
Lyman Torres,
Aye.
Carla Palumbo,
Aye.
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Ellen Williams.
Aye. Thank you. Trustees, unless there is further business to discuss, this concludes the business portion of the meeting. We will now go into the informational portion of the Board of Trustees meeting. I would like to ask President Burt Nana to give her report.
Thank you so much, Chair Williams. I appreciate that. And again, I would like to thank the board for its confidence in my leadership and recognition of the investment of the overall success of the college. And that's only possible because we have amazingly dedicated and competent employees that commit daily to doing the work of our college. And it is an honor each and every day to serve alongside all of them. And we commit to maintaining MCC's longstanding credibility and exemplary status as a premier institution of higher education, one which is making a positive impact on students in our community. So thank you for that. I also feel compelled to make a statement with regard to the state of affairs on the surge in crime in our city of Rochester and nationally, many things that are weighing heavily on the hearts and minds of our employees as well as others. And in light of the current state of affairs of public safety in the local Rochester community and across the nation, coupled with national trends ranging from unprovoked wars between countries to historic rulings on legal matters which have divided our country, I feel the weight that our employees also feel and the toll that each of them, as well as our students, feel at each one of these incidents take an overwhelming toll on each and every one of us all. MCC stands in solidarity with the many dedicated public servants who protect and defend our community and our country daily. And we mourn the needless and senseless loss of innocent lives across our state, our country, and the global community. MCC commits all the more to making education affordable and accessible to all zip codes of our community as a proven strategy to counterbalance crime, poverty, and educate citizens to make informed choices which strengthen our democracy. And we continue to prioritize employee and student health and safety as well as the fostering of diversity, equity, and belongingness for MCC students and employees. Vision 2027, the strategic plan that we thank you so very much for passing overwhelmingly and unanimously, reflects this commitment as well. Also, I wanted to give an update on Tuesday, July 26th, budget hearing with the joint committees of Ways and Means and our Recreation and Education committees from Monroe County. We remain grateful to County Executive and Monroe County Legislature as our local sponsor, which continue to make it possible for MCC to carry out its mission for greater good. So on Tuesday evening of July 26, I appeared before the joint committees to present MCC's fiscal year 23 budget. The outcome resulted in unanimous endorsement and approval of our ask of $750,000, increasing the local sponsor share by 3.8%, plus unanimous endorsement of a modest full year tuition increase of $50, which MCC Student Government Association also endorsed. I believe Chair Alan Williams, who was also in the audience during that hearing, left that hearing feeling just as a profound sense of pride as I did in hearing our county legislators commend MCCs for its leadership as well as its impact in our community. Most recently, we have received an update from SUNY with regard to the latest decisions pertaining to an additional $60 million that came from New York State to SUNY for distribution. And the SUNY board has approved, set aside an allocation of $4.1 million that we will receive and will be eligible to receive in one-time funding from New York State. And it is intended to champion workforce development and to boost enrollment through workforce development strategies. Again, that's a one-time allocation. We will have to submit a plan that demonstrates how we will accomplish that before those funds would be released to the college. But we are hopeful and well-positioned to receive them. I also wanted to assure the board that we are continuing to monitor the health and safety circumstances in our region and in our local county and evolving circumstances pertaining to COVID-19 and monkeypox. And we're doing that in consultation with SUNY as well as with Monroe County in public health. And we expect to receive some updates on next week that I will continue to update the college and the board. But at this point, there's been no change in guidance. Finally, I will invite Dr. William Dixon to come to the microphone to join me in a discussion with regard to MCC's key performance indicators as measures for its strategic plan. As William is approaching, I would ask for the slides that show the key performance indicator. Are they available, Linda? Thank you so much. We thank the board for engaging with the president and with our vice presidents, our executive leadership team in a workshop in June, where we use data to understand how best to evaluate the success of the new strategic plan for the success of MCC students. Before we review these metrics in detail, I want to assure our employees that they will also have input into division or unit level measurements of planning, where other metrics are being set aside to advance divisional goals, which are equally important to measuring our student and organizational progress. So with that, I'll walk the board through our key performance measures that we have taken under your advisement, as well as, and I believe, Linda, it's in their board packets as well, so a copy is there if you prefer to look at it in your packet. Specifically, we wanted to make sure that the data definitions that we're all working from the same common language. And so I'll leave that for you to refer back to, but so you can scroll the screen there. The first measure, why didn't I wear my glasses today? Out of all the days. I have a copy. Thank you so much, Linda. Linda to the rescue. Okay. The first measure that we have is on our enrollment trends. And so we've used data to help us to do some projections. You heard today that we are turning a corner with our enrollment. We're not seeing the declining of enrollments that we've seen over the last decade. In fact, we're seeing a stabilization of enrollment, and we expect that to remain fairly flat. William, do you want to elaborate on any specific details pertaining to how we came to that conclusion?
So as of this morning, so what we're seeing headcount wise, compared to one year ago this time, we're down 16 students. But what we're also seeing is those students that's enrolling at MCC actually increase credit hours. So even though we're down a little bit in headcount, we're actually up in FTE. That's why we say at this point, it looks like we're stabilizing enrollment. It can't be said statewide, but MCC is in a good position to say that.
That's a good trend to have. We want our students, and there's actually a ladder metric that we'll review that talks about momentum and students taking more credit hours, which we know is also a proven strategy for student success. In your packet, there's also information that shows the trend in headcount over time. Is there any questions from the board specific to this particular key performance indicator? While you're reflecting on that, I did also want to comment that we heard very clearly from our board that in addition to the metrics that we're held accountable for sharing nationally, for example, like iPads and with other data sources, it was important to the board that we set realistic metrics on things that we can control for, both leading and lagging indicators. If there's no questions about KPI 1, then we'll move to the second, which is employee satisfaction, diversity, equity, and inclusion. This year, we will issue a report on employee satisfaction, and at that point, that will become the benchmark or baseline by which we then set our measures. We do not yet have that information, so the targets are to be determined. Anything you want to add, William?
Not too much to add at this point. SUNY is currently canvassing other SUNY colleges if they want to do a survey of student satisfaction. If we do participate in that, our comparison group will be only SUNY College, which was a national. If we participate in the SUNY, we would have local.
I mean, what is the hope in terms of?
So a good result to any survey, we at least shoot for 20% of a population. MCC is lucky in that our employees, the last two employee satisfaction, we had a 49% response rate. And the second time that we did Gallup 2 years later, it fell to about 36%. It's always well above the 20% that's.
You have a follow-up question? Anyone follow-up question?
I think we'll just look forward to the baseline when you have the data to put in here. Target.
Thank you. Moving on to KPI 3, then the third key performance indicator is value added matching student outcomes with student goals. This is actually a carry forward of a study that I asked for William to assist me with a year ago in understanding students' intentions versus what they actually do. And so in this particular KPI, we're seeking to understand how well we help students to fulfill their intent for enrolling at MCC. So we're looking at the percentage of those that wanted to graduate and versus those that actually graduated, those that wanted to graduate and transfer compared to those that actually did, those that intended to transfer before graduating versus those that actually did, those that intended to earn an MCC degree or certificate and seek employment rather than pursuing post-secondary education compared to those that actually did, and then how we did overall. So this is aligning intentions with the actual outcomes and to move closer to actually having better performance in those areas over the next 5 years. Questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move to KPI 4, And this is looking at the 5-year post-completion earnings of our students and their pathway to living wages. William, would you elaborate on these particular measures?
So these measures, what our graduates are making 5 years after. I think the first round, we were looking at 2 years. We expanded it to 5 years to include students who may have went to a 4-year or transferred to another. Salaries. After 5 years, we compared what our students make overall, certificate programs, associates. We compared it to what the living wage for MIT says a living wage for our Monroe County is for a single person with no children. So this is the overall metric. We have this for every program on campus. So that's what when we do the divisional plans, the SIM plans and those, this would be broken down further. That's where this information is.
Any feedback from the board or questions or comments with regard to that particular measure?
Now, is the case in any one discipline has a bigger weight, the salary number than others?
So in this one, we're looking at all graduates and what their salary was after 5 years. We can go in depth to see programs like the nursing graduates. So some of they're not weighted, but we do know some of our programs lead to higher. That's part of the program assessment going forward.
I'm thinking things like nursing, optics, healthcare. That I think that has a heavier weight than some of the other, and it may well be some of the other disciplines.
William, Dr. Dixon, can I clarify that? I believe that the MIT living wage calculator is not based on a particular discipline, but what's happening in the region for your area. And then we would actually look more specifically at what is occurring by program or discipline of study. Is that correct?
That's correct. So MIT is looking at your region, what it costs to live with.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
It seems like the economic situation in the last 2 years has interfered in the sense that there are not that many job openings for those who are not in those specific areas. So as you study all this, I mean, we will have to probably wait more than 5 years to see how they are doing. I mean, the reality is that a lot of young people, even after 5 years, with all the people that were let go because of COVID and everything else, we will have to probably wait more than 5 years after graduation to see how they are doing.
Okay, that's a fair statement. We're definitely going to see how COVID impacted the job force.
Mm-hmm.
So in relation to this, if we're currently working on that study now, so we can see certain disciplines were impacted heavily in certain places around the college when COVID happened. So a lot of our students, a lot of our graduates did employment or lost hours of work.
Any other comments on that particular KPI? More? KPI 5, it goes back to the first conversation we were having about momentum and all the research that shows that getting students to take more credits in their first year helps them to stay on a path and complete in a timely manner. And so this particular indicator will help us to monitor how students, whether they're earning 24 credits, at least 24 credits in the first year, completing both math and English in the first year. And then we decide to break it out and look at what's actually happening by each of those groups of students, those completing math in the first year and those completing English in the first year. So looking at it comprehensively as well as a breakout. Any comments, William, that you'd like to elaborate on that particular API?
These momentum metrics, we're currently using these in the Title III grant on campus and the Guided Pathways initiative. These are part of how we measure guided pathways at the college. We also coach other colleges in the state that's in guided pathways on how to use these methods. We're using these next and breaking them down. What services on campus ties in and has an impact. I just wanted to point that out. It isn't just something we're reporting on. We're actually putting a lot of this in action.
So the 24 credit completion, significance of that is what, that students will, that a student will complete coursework or graduate years?
There's a strong correlation in getting 24. If you read the metric, it's a little bit in the language. As it says, college credits in your first year. So developmental credits are not. That's one of the things we're monitoring. If you get 24 credits that count towards graduation in the first year, your chances of graduating retaining are much higher than if you fall below that threshold. What happens if you fall below? More than likely you run out of financial aid. So there's actually a time limit.
Questions? Are there other questions? Thank you all for those comments, questions. Okay. The last of the key, oh, no, there was like 5. Okay, I got that wrong. I must have just been looking at the financial impact. So the last piece of the document just reflects what the financial impact of the key performance indicators can have on stabilizing the college's financial position. And that's the last few pages of the document that shows that, for example, just by maintaining the goals that we have for enrollment, that we have the potential to increase revenue if we were able to get to that, our aspirational goal of 9,000 students, that we're able to increase our revenue by another nearly $2 million in that 5 years period of time. Any comments or questions? I don't know, I don't remember if there was a particular resolution pertaining to the key performance indicators. I didn't think we need one, but we did not receive any feedback directly from the board. And so we will assume from this conversation that your questions have been answered pertaining to them and proceed with implementing them. That concludes my report. Thank you. Thank you, William. Dr. Dixon.
Thank you, President Bertnana. I will now ask the cabinet members to give their reports. First will be Dr. Robin Cole. And this is your first official meeting also?
Yes, my first one.
Yes, we can.
Thank you, trustees. Thank you, President Bertnana. I'm Dr. Robin Cole Jr., VP Economic Workforce Development and Career Technical Education, representing the Economic Development and Innovative Workforce Services, or EDWIS division. I'd like to draw your attention to a few highlights within the report. First one under the section labeled partnerships. EDWIS was among a group of regional stakeholders, including government officials, YS Department of Labor, Empire State Department, Development, Greater Rochester Enterprise, Corning, and more, to support the growing need for optics technicians across the region and the nation. A growth plan is being developed for the MCC Optical Systems Technologies Program with their guidance and funding advocacy. We move now to, well, actually, you'll see next, you'll see a list of customized trainings that were taking place. I just wanted to highlight that some of the trainings are supported by Empower. These are customized trainings that we offer, and Empower helps with the offset, the implementation and the cost of some of these trainings. Under other highlights, in July, the Ford Center conducted 3 open houses, inviting employers to visit and learn more about how the Ford Center can support their business. There was a total of 57 individuals representing almost 30 different organizations that attended. These events generated interest from 19 organizations for immediate conversations regarding the further engagement with the Ford Center. This strategy has proved to be effective, and we'll continue using it to engage our business and related audiences. Also, the Ford Center hosted an open house for our community-based partners on July 13th. The event was well attended. There was a great interest in continuing to support the Ford Center and MCC learners. Also upcoming, it's not in here on the report, but I did want to highlight August 13th, we will hold a community open house, which will be open to the community. Anyone to come out, learn more about the Ford Center and the opportunities for the community. Right now, the last time we looked last week, we had about 60 RSVPs, gaining a lot of interest in the event. I also wanted just to highlight something that was not in the report that just happened last week. The CHIPS, Congress passed the CHIPS bill. This was an effort led by Senator Schumer and Representative Morelli. This bill means that Rochester families and at least the expansion of regional innovation, manufacturing of chips, and creating jobs here in the area, especially talking about semiconductor chips, and looking to just conduct more of those types of productivity here in the United States instead of overseas. The $280 billion package, and within the college, that's lead to greater opportunities for more training in the area of semiconductor chips, and also it leads just into overall innovation, optics, and other areas within the college. Thank you. Are there any questions on my report?
On that, I know the CHIPS bill that was just passed, do we have the details yet, or do we know how much, if any, how much MCC may be getting?
No, we don't not have those details yet. The last that we read, I know there's going to be a press conference tomorrow with NextCorp from Morelli's office. Last time I read that Nancy Pelosi is going to get the bill to the president as soon as possible to get it signed off. Then as soon as we get some more information, we'll share that with the board, exactly how much we'll possibly get here for MCC and for our programming.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cole. Dr. Calvin Gant.
Evening. Good to see everyone. So my report is fairly short, but I did want to point out a couple of changes that have happened in terms of external partnerships. Just recently, I took over as the chair of the board for the Urban League of Rochester. So I do want to point that out to folks that, we certainly have that work that we're doing to bridge the gap with us in the community. So that's very important work, and I'm very committed to that. The other thing I wanted to point out were a couple of highlights that are listed at the bottom. The first is, I think you might have heard me mention a couple of meetings ago about the TRHT, or the Truth and Racial Healing grant that we have received. Just want to talk about the training that we went through in June 21st through the 24th. It was very important for us to do that. Some of my colleagues from the college and I participated in that. One of the things that you do learn sometimes when you participate in some of these sessions is that we're not as far off as sometimes you think in your own head about where you stand as an institution. And I feel really good about some of the work that we have been doing at MCC thus far. So it does help us to understand that we are on the right path, and that there are sometimes institutions that maybe aren't as far out and ahead of those things as we may be. So that's one. The second is something that's fairly new. As of this semester, we started a new affinity group, LGBTQIA, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, inquiring, thank you. And so we had a fantastic time at the Red Wings game. We had 126 MCC employees sign up to go out to Pride Night at the Red Wings game. I don't know that I've seen so many of our colleagues together since COVID. And so it was just so nice to be out in the public, being able to just sit and socialize and just have a really fantastic time with each other. And this was the first event for this new affinity group on campus. So I hope that it speaks volumes to the things that they're going to be able to do as the group continues to formulate where they want to go and the impact they want to have in the community. So those are my comments. Any questions? Thank you.
Want to give a quick update. Programming reference MCC's commitment to ensuring ADA compliance. In June 2019, we underwent a voluntary comprehensive review of the New York State Education Department, Office of Post-Secondary Access, Support and Success. This review occurs every 10 years, support the continuing funding of career and technical education programs. New York State Education Department issued basically came with findings from a civil rights compliance review of the college. We just talked about, like, Bonetti was here doing an audit and so forth. And so this was something we really looked at on a volunteer basis to make sure we were being compliant and having the rigor. Dr. Kelvin's been the point person for the college in terms of our voluntary compliance plan. We've been working back with the state intern, ensuring that we're able to do that. The costly portion of the plan is the accessibility section, which requires areas of the college serving continuing CTE programs be compliant. Americans with Disability Act standards for accessible design. So we had met with them. We meet, I believe, every 6 months, where we do an update every 6 months. We actually had just met a couple of weeks ago. And in the most recent update of the voluntary compliance plan, we requested an extension for a number of items that are currently integrated to projects that are later years. So basically, we have a 10-year master plan. So the 10-year master plan, many of these things, we actually have an item. There was I believe, over 100 things that are actually listed. Basically, we're not allowed to say, okay, hey, we're going to fix this in 10 years. So with that, Dr. Gant, he updates them every 6 months. We say, hey, we look at this. This is something we want to make sure that we're being compliant with. Allow us to go ahead and develop a strategy where we're not saying, okay, hey, this is part of our 10-year plan, that we can actually look at how we can actually do these things accelerated pace, basically. And so they gave us an extension to October 3rd. Yeah, October 3rd, 2022. So basically what we're in the process of doing now is kind of looking at some things we can actually be able to do in-house, look at, hey, some things we can actually fix that we can actually do now, and say, hey, even though it may have been, say, on our master plan 2027, we'll be able to do those things now. We'll kind of look at some things that we'll need, maybe the Board of Trustees or President's help in terms of rearranging the CIP process itself, in terms of be able to accelerate those things. So right now we're in the process of developing that strategy. We want to make sure we update the board on what we're doing with that. We're currently 24% complete with those items, and we'll continue to make sure that we actually are aggressive in doing that. We talked about being able to respond all in terms of ADA compliance. We'll do that at MCC.
So we're talking mostly structural.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it sounds like from your report that they're pretty tough about granting further. So yes, we have a level of confidence that I guess what do you need from us in order?
No, I think right now we're call it deep dive analysis. That's what we're in the process of doing now. And so we've actually looked at that. You know, it's kind of like, hey, we have a 10-year plan, but obviously the 10-year plan does not suffice in terms of being able to do that. So those are things that we'll look at to say, hey, what can we actually do now in say in a year or two? And then be able to do those things, update those things to the state, and then we'll get that feedback and then see kind of what those steps are. But right now we're in this process of making sure we're doing the proper analytics to the problem set, sir.
Chair Williams, I'm sorry.
Another follow-up is what's the risk? I'm talking about from here. Get to the point where they say you're not compliant, then boom. In risk.
We don't believe we'll get to that point.
I understand. I just wanted to make sure.
No, but that's what we
full
want
sense
to
of urgency.
Yes. And we appreciate that. I think it's just a thing that utilizing the right expertise. I definitely think that Dr. Gantz did a great job. But definitely need to give kudos to Quentin Rhodes. So now we're also outsourcing some of the things to be able to give us some of that expertise in terms of like, hey, let's look at these things. What can we actually do now? And then actually being able to use the team internally to be able to accelerate those items. So it's just right now, it's just we had to put that critical analysis to it that Not to say the rigor wasn't done before, but we're doing a little bit more of that now, sir.
And I do really appreciate.
Absolutely. And trustee DeLusse, I just for the sake of clarification, though all of the corrections are not required to be completed by October, not that you were asking that specific question, but just for the record, it's that we have a plan of how we will complete all the items. So just for the public record, I just wanted to clarify that we have until October 3rd to submit the plan for the strategies of how that will be accomplished. And many of the items that were originally identified have already been resolved. And now it's the more costlier items. So when you ask questions about how the board can support, we may find that when we begin to analyze and prioritize the remaining 70-some% of those items, that we may need to readjust and make some changes to projects in the institution in order to prioritize becoming under better compliance with those items. And that would be a role that the board would take in advising us on that support to readjust those allocations. We believe that we should be able to do it within the budget that we've allotted, but if we are unable to, we would also bring that request back to the board.
Mr. Hinton, could you give an example of what is considered an example of a costlier item that needs to be?
Yes, ma'am. So, I mean, one of the things is just kind of the wayfinding, the signs that I think that that's one of the things that was part of it is part of the 10-year master plan. So these are things that has been given thought, that have been put into a plan that actually goes through the process of going through back to, the county CIP process, go to the state. So these items aren't things that we weren't thinking of. I think now that we went through this rigor, we just got to figure out how to do it in a fashion and a timeliness in terms of, hey, we can't say, hey, it's part of the 10-year plan that's going to be done in 2028. Now we have to figure out, and those are things the president said, we may have to come back to the Board of Trustees to be, hey, these are things we need to prioritize in terms of getting the funding, much like we did with the ATC. There may be things that, hey, now in terms of being compliance, we may have to ask you to, hey, can we push this forward and basically do trade-offs so we're actually being able to be compliant, ma'am.
And another issue at play is the state comes in and says, you're out of compliance here, you need to do this and do that, but, there's no funding behind it. They basically say you have to do it, or this is what you have to do, and where's the funding? Well, that's your problem, not mine. Is what it comes, essentially it comes down to. Yeah.
Absolutely. So in the military, we call that a UFR, unfunded requirement. So it's a mandate that you've been given, but no resources to do it with.
Well, welcome to New York. It's called an unfunded mandate. You hear that all the time. Welcome to New York. Yeah.
And then
we've participated in this voluntarily. I'll reemphasize that point. Nothing triggered this process, which is always the better side to be on when you're voluntarily saying, please help us to identify how best to support all members of our community to make sure that they can assess and benefit from the resources that we provide as a college. So in that way, we're honored to do so. We appreciate the state's feedback, and we will appreciate the board's help in making sure that we have the support of the board to allocate resources to make sure that we maintain that compliance.
And something that's not on the list, and it's not part of this list whatsoever, but just to kind of tell you, one of the things that we're about to update in terms of the mileage rate, we're going to increase it, but we couldn't do it just yet because being ADA compliance on the website. So those are type things in terms of want to make sure that we don't have all the knowledge in terms of what is ADA compliance. So we went through this voluntary basis to be able to do that. And I also want to make sure that we have access and accessibility for all here at MCC.
Any other?
I'll do one last thing, kind of a good note. CL Worley has agreed to serve as board president for the new SUNY Women in Technology, WIT, affinity program announced by the chancellor on July 1st. This includes a diverse program designed to attract, empower, support, and retain a more gender diverse IT-related workforce and student population.
Thank you. Dr. McKenzie Mabry.
Thank you, Chair Williams. Good evening, trustees. I have a few brief updates from academic and student services to highlight today. One of the first things I'd like to bring your attention to is the nursing students passed their national tests with a year-to-date pass rate of 90.77%. Just to put that in perspective, if you compare it to a New York State average, that's 76.76%, and the national average is 82.32%. And so I'd like to give special accolades to Dean Margaret Kaminsky, our nursing department chairperson, faculty, and of course, our students.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Great.
I'd also just like to bring your attention to the personnel section. We have several faculty members with awards and recognitions. I'd like to highlight the top three. So Professor Susan Belair of Anthropology, History, Political Science, and Sociology, Professor Nada Perez-Kane, and Professor Naomi Schlagman, who are all winners of the 2021-2022 Wesley T. Hansen Award for Teaching Excellence. And so in addition to those, there are other faculty member awards. And so kudos to all of those faculty for that acknowledgement. For student services, on Saturday, June 11th, we held a face-to-face admitted student day, and we were excited to be welcomed by 300 students. Saturday morning and their family members. That's 100 students over what actually RSVP'd and registered for the event. And so I think when we look at our enrollment and we're thinking about post-COVID, the event on Saturday, June 11th really is recognition that we're moving towards something that looks very different with our students wanting to be on campus again. And so kudos, special thank you to Matt Lawson, the director, Julie Slate, and also all of the all of the staff in the admissions department and the departments that supported Admitted Student Day and our student workers as well. I'd also like to just highlight personnel. So the marketing, web, and social media team won the 2022 Pinnacle Award from the American Marketing Association Rochester chapter this past June. The recognition was for our MCC summer campaign. It won the Business to Consumer Integrated Marketing Campaign for a nonprofit. And so our marketing team has been doing incredible work, really thinking outside of the box. And I think this is really great recognition of the work that they've been doing. So kudos to Deb Davis and the marketing team and all who have supported those efforts over the last year. And then finally, there were some great questions about the next SEM plan, the Strategic Enrollment Management Plan. And so I just wanted to talk briefly and give you some very brief updates on what the SEM is, the purpose, how it fits in with Vision 2022, and next steps. The Strategic Enrollment Management Plan is a college-wide process that prioritizes our work, identifying data-driven goals, strategies, and action plans that support enrollment growth. This is both for new student enrollment and retention of current students. A SEM plan is not a recruitment or a marketing plan. Those plans are actually formed by the strategies, and they're very tactical in nature. MCC has both a recruitment plan and a marketing plan that are updated annually. The purpose of the SEM is to identify data-informed goals and strategies that will prioritize and implement during the next 5 years. The first step has involved a cross-divisional collaboration in identifying clear and realistic goals for both new and current student enrollment, persistence, retention, and completion. The steering committee oversees the development of the goals, strategies, and action plans, which must be implemented in order to achieve success. This work that that's been undergoing for the last couple of months is completed under the guidance of a SUNY-sponsored American Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers, or ACRO for short, a coach that they've provided to us. It's funded by the Lumina Foundation, a grant in collaboration with SUNY, and we're in partnership with 29 other community colleges in this work. Ideally, the strategic plan would lead the SEM, but because we were lucky enough to be granted funding through the Lumina Foundation, we got a little bit of a head start, and now we'll be working to make sure that we're aligning with the strategic plan. The work of the strategic enrollment management plan is really going to be focused on direction 3 to attract and retain students by providing programs and supportive services structured to meet the needs of our diverse population. We will continue this work. The committee is broken down into 2 subcommittees. It's important to highlight we have a recruitment and marketing committee and a retention, persistence, and student success. They will be focused on developing the supportive tactics to achieve the goals and making recommendations to the institution where necessary. We will continue having weekly meetings. The committee will continue meeting weekly. And as the fall semester kicks off, we'll have lots of opportunities to engage the college community, the Board of Trustees, and everyone in the work that we're doing. Again, in an ideal world, we would have led with the strategic plan. Now it's just making sure that that work that we continue doing around the strategic enrollment management plan supports the strategic plan and the KPIs. Any questions?
Comments. One of the things in your report too, you highlighted there are a couple of awards in the athletic programs.
Yes.
And congratulations. Oh, you're gonna, sorry.
So this is highlighting from the Western New York Athletic Conference, Champions for Baseball student athlete Ben Beauchamp received Player of the Year and was named first team all conference, and along with teammates Max Schmarter and Dylan Wannett. And also congratulations to Coach Dave Brost as well for leading our team to such an incredible year. Coming post-COVID, our athletic teams have really just been outstanding. So thank you for pointing that out, Trustee Williams.
You know, as we move back into in-person meetings, I'd like to have them in so we could end our congratulations in person.
I absolutely will do that. Thank you. No other questions. Thank you for your time.
Mark Estorella will give the reports for Gretchen Wood.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk a little bit about the work of the foundation. So I don't have any additional cabinet updates, but we've combined our report into the foundation report in the interest of time. And I think that we have some slides somewhere. We had our 30 that's not the slide. I think we're looking for the next. There we go. Okay. So we had our 38th annual, a wonderful history with our scholarship open. We had our 38th annual scholarship open. We had 32 foursomes participate. It was a great success, sold out, and pleased to say that we raised a little bit over $100,000 to support deserving students. Our presenting sponsor this year was new. It was Toyota. And we are thrilled with that growing relationship with Toyota, expanding on the many relationships that they have. We were additionally thrilled with 2 other things. 1, the weather was absolutely perfect. And 2, one of our guests was fortunate enough to score a hole-in-one and win $10,000 on one of our holes. So if there is, if you're struggling with your golf game, sign up for next year's golf tournament. You never know. As the academic year is coming quickly to a close here, I'm pleased to review what has been an extraordinary year at the foundation. We can go to the next slide, Jeremy. First of all, our annual campaign has secured over $530,000. The annual campaign is a key source of support for the foundation's operations, as well as other areas of greatest need. So I thank everyone who makes the annual campaign a priority every year. Next slide. In addition, I'm pleased to say that in total so far this academic year, which still has a month left, we've raised $8.89 million in total private support. And this obviously would not be possible if it wasn't for the extraordinary work of so many dedicated members of the college community. The entire college community helps contribute to our ability to raise those funds. So you can see we raise money in 3 different areas: major gifts, special events, and the annual fund make up the total support for the work of the foundation. So we especially thank the trustees for their leadership, as well as all faculty, staff, and administrators who make student success a priority every day. It makes raising funds so much easier with all that passion and hard work. Next slide, Jeremy. At our June board meeting, the foundation has made many changes, or several changes to our board of directors. In fact, we're adding 4 new members of our board. So the 4 new members are extraordinary joining us. Brian Capitamino is a partner at Woods Oviatt Gilman. Lauren Flom is the chief financial officer at Flom Management. We have Doug Parker, MCC alumnus from the class of 1992 and senior vice president at Sage Ruddy, as well as Patricia Redding, the president of Saunders Management. The 4 new members of the foundation board will begin their 3-year term as of September 1st. So we look forward to working with these new leaders in support of student success at MCC. Next slide. There we go. Our next event is going to be our 31st annual Salute to Excellence. We haven't done one since 2019 due to the pandemic. And so we're going to be celebrating the Salute to Excellence on Wednesday, November 10th. Committee co-chairs for the event are MCC Foundation board members Flor Colon and Dan Goldstein. And we're particularly pleased to have honorary chairs for the events, our presidents emeriti, Dr. Peter Spina and R. Thomas Flynn. So we're grateful to them for their support of this celebration. This year's Salute to Excellence will pay special tribute to the Monroe Community College's 60th anniversary, and we'll celebrate, of course, our 4 inductions into our Alumni Hall of Fame. We're very excited to share the Salute to Excellence Award, which is our highest honor, with the ESL Charitable Foundation, recognizing their extraordinary generosity. And we'll also celebrate the many contributions of Dr. Alice Holloway Young with our Salute to Volunteerism Award. We're currently seeking underwriting support for the event. Please let us know if you're interested in sponsoring the Salute to Excellence. So in closing, we just want to say to the trustees that, as always, you know how much the foundation board appreciates your leadership and all that you do for MCC students. If you would like additional information on the work of the foundation, please review our activity report, which was submitted, and it covers all of our activity through May 31st. So unless there's any other questions, that concludes the report.
Yes. United Way campaign. Not even frankly sure. Just, I'm surprised.
We do get a few gifts through the United Way, so I'll double check on that and see if
There's some.
well, that's not entirely uncommon, but we've had a wonderful partnership with the United Way in a lot of different areas. So, but I will check again and see if that had somehow gotten removed, but no, we receive a few gifts through that. Thank you.
Mark? I will now ask trustee Mia Lee to give her report.
Will be intensive.
Any questions? At this time, we will begin the shared governance portion of the meeting.
Governance leaders will have an opportunity to provide an update of no more than 5 minutes to the board. At a time. Government Association.
Just trying to come up.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Now we can. Yes.
Okay, I couldn't hear anybody. Thank you once again for allowing student government to be part of shared governance. I'm glad to be in a role to present the reports for the Student Government Association. This year's Office of Student Life and Leadership theme is Imagine, Believe, and Achieve. This year's SGA is focusing all of our events and service around this theme. Our goal is also to align our service with MCC's new strategic plan. SGA has been working diligently on training new members and recruitment this summer. We have held several training sessions and have a great team to help achieve these goals. The Student Government Association is also in the planning process for the 9/11 ceremony, and there will be more details as we narrow the event down. A few members of Student Government Association also attended the Turbo Vote presentation for local, state, and national elections developed by Democracy Works, a nonpartisan nonprofit 501c3 organization that works to simplify the voting process. The Office of Student Life and Leadership applied for and received a grant to offer this service to the students. Turbo Vote is an online service to help students vote in every election, and we are trying to get the word out to vote in the upcoming elections in November. Through Turbo Vote, we hope to engage with other students to register to vote. Thank you for your time.
Faculty Senate. Either does the support.
Thank you. To the MCC Faculty Senate, Student Government, and to our Support Staff Planning Council, I would like to take this time commend you on the countless ways you have demonstrated a willingness to work together for the greater good of our college. From the work of our student governors as champions of domestic and global causes and gatherers of timely resources needed by their student peers, the support staff organizing invaluable professional development opportunities for our front staff to that are the backbones to department operations, to the complex work of our faculty senators who facilitated consultation on organizational restructure proposals and voted to make necessary enhancements to general education requirements for all MCC students. You are all deserving of recognition. So on behalf of myself, MCC Board of Trustees, and the officers of our college, we thank you all. I'll also take this time to comment on the amazing work of our unions. A year ago, when I was being hired, the Board of Trustees and I agreed upon a set of expectations, which included restoring and fostering positive relations with our unions. Realizing this could only be accomplished with willing and committed partners at the helm of our collective bargaining units, I prioritized getting to know and understand Tom Polizzi, who's the president of our CSEA union for our service workers, and Bethany Gizzi, who's the president of our faculty association. And they reciprocated the same. Throughout my first year as president, I have found Tom and Bethany to be effective and devoted representatives of their members and committed colleagues in the work we prioritize together for the betterment of MCC. I commend them both as leaders. I also want to extend commendations and express my appreciation to the 2022 Faculty Association Union Negotiations Team led by Kristen Lowe, Executive Director of Human Resources and our Employee Engagement, and Faculty Association Union President Bethany Gizzi, and to each member of their teams on both sides. Contract negotiations, by their very nature, require enormous amounts of emotional energy, as each party seeks to represent the broad and diverse interests of their constituency groups, as well as subgroups within them. The dedicated and expert work of these teams remained evident and sustained throughout negotiations, with laser-like focus on keeping the big picture of MCC's operations in mind, with shared interest and responsibility for securing our college's operations beyond the tenures of us all. As a result, a milestone 5-year agreement has been reached with the Faculty Association in just 3 months of negotiations. As with any negotiated agreement, the parties make difficult choices and sacrifices in order to hone in on the most essential and attainable elements of advocacy in that version of the contract, acting in good faith over time to strengthen the overall position of the college, which includes investing in its most valuable resources, its employees. I want to thank FA President Bethany Gizzi and Director Kristen Lowe for not losing sight of these delicate nuances of contract negotiations and working collaboratively to position the college to sustain its progress now and for years to come. Thank you both. That concludes my comments.
This time we will begin the union update portion of the meeting.
Members will have an opportunity to provide comments.
Good evening. Dr. Bertnana, thank you so much for those comments. Good evening, Chair Williams, Dr. Bertnana, and members of the board. For those of you that I've not yet had an opportunity to meet, my name is Bethany Gizzi. I am the president of the Faculty Association and professor of sociology here at MCC. I would like to echo your comments about our negotiation and specifically thank the board for your support of our negotiations process and for your support of the agreement that we were able to reach. I would also like to thank you, Dr. Bertnana, for your very intentional efforts to create an environment where true partnership was able to be reached. As you've heard from me before in previous presentations to the board, one of the primary goals that we had in this contract was to address some of the inequities in our prior salary model. I am proud to say that this contract represents significant progress in achieving our goals towards equity. And I believe that this contract truly does represent an investment in all of the constituencies of the Faculty Association. I would like to also acknowledge both the FA and the management teams for their efforts and specifically for their commitment to a much more cooperative and positive process overall. The work that we've done together, not just in negotiations, but over the past year, has helped us to rebuild a relationship of trust and to strengthen the labor management relationship that we have. On behalf of the FA, I would like to say that we look forward to continued collaboration with management as we work to serve our students and the college community. I would also like to take this opportunity to highlight our FA Follow Your Dream Scholarship and the recipients that we were able to honor this year. Thanks to donations from our Faculty Association members, our employees, we were able to provide scholarships to 4 students, and these scholarships will be applied for this academic year. And the students are Jennifer Ames, who's a major in psychology, Jeffrey Herberger in geology, Samuel Roberts in computer science, and Ashraf Saleh in liberal arts. And also, every year, we use the Faculty Association Scholarship as an opportunity to honor one of our FA members. Usually it's someone who has recently retired. And this year it was in honor of Don Beach. And we welcomed Don back to campus so that he could present the scholarships to the students. And we had a reception to do that in May. So thank you very much. Have a good evening.
And CSEA has no report.
We're closing out. Yeah. I mean, I'd like just to ask the board members to please complete your self-assessment evaluation. Turn it into Linda as soon as you can. And would you also just indicate whether or not you'd like to conduct a self-assessment annually or biannually? The other item, just a reminder that at our June 23rd workshop, we talked about changing the agenda going forward for the meetings to a more student-focused agenda. We're currently still working on that. The intent is to have that new agenda present for the October meeting. You will definitely receive a draft of what it looks like for that in advance of the meeting. I would now like to call your attention to the information items in attachments 9 and 10. Biographies of our newest employees can be found in attachment 9. The staff recognition notes found in attachment 10. Both document the impressive credentials and accomplishments of MCC's employees. I know you join me in recognizing them for their contributions to the college. Nothing else on the agenda. Trustees, this concludes the Board of Trustees meeting. To adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Meeting is now adjourned.
Most fun part. for the
Oh,
board
yeah,
member
it is.
here. This smacker. Thank you. Okay.